All right, what's going on there, folks? I know it's a little late out here on this. Well, it's technically Thanksgiving right now, Thursday, November 23rd, 2023, Thanksgiving Day. Happy Thanksgiving to the folks out there that do celebrate this American holiday. It is about 1:07 a.m. here. 1:07 a.m. What am I doing up this early? I don't know. Well, I'm not really up. I'm kind of staying up late. All right, latest activity. Where are we? What do we got here for the latest earthquake on the globe? Looks like well, why are we getting a point 0.4 coming in here? It's a little odd here. A little point 0.4 out there around the Mediterranean. Let's go ahead and look at the USGS map here and see what we got here for the latest activity here in the last 24 hours. Looks as though the largest earthquake is going to be this 5.0 down here around the New Britain area, Papua New Guinea. That earthquake coming in early this morning, it looks like, coming up on around 24 hours or so for the threshold for that earthquake. Not a whole lot going on in terms of large-scale movement currently here across the area of the plates. West Coast area, Northern California, seeing a handful of earthquakes up here in the last 24 hours. The latest one, though, shows a 1.7. About 23 kilometers deep. We have noticed a little increase in earthquake activity up here across the southern end of the Cascadia megathrust. A lot of people don't know that Northern California is part of the Cascadia megathrust area. Now, over the past, let's see if we got anything over the last 24 hours here across the tremor map. Well, we got 138 epicenters of tremor. That's somewhat elevated, but not a big deal. A little bit up around the Vancouver Island area and also Washington, southern Washington region. And some slight activity here in Northern California. So if you can imagine here, tension is built up here across Northern California along the Cascadia. And it's definitely showing at the surface levels a little bit further upstream from this tremor. Tremor occurs around 35, 45 kilometers deep into the subduction zone itself. Now, when you shove that plate down here, I'm talking about the Juan de Fuca plate, underneath the North American plate, it adds further strain up here, upstream. And that's where we're seeing that earthquake activity upstream here, left on the map, shallower compared to the tremor, which is about 22 kilometers or so into the stress area of the Cascadia. So definitely getting a little bit of activity stirring up here. Also, one very interesting earthquake activity out here across the Cascadia, and this is a very shallow earthquake, 2.3. Got to pay attention out here. I want to know what we're going to see before the next Cascadia megaquake activity. What are we going to look at in terms of data? As far as earthquake activity, as far as tremor, are we going to look at no tremor for years at a time before we see that mega quake out here? Or are we going to see increasing tremor prior to the major 9.0 out here across the Cascadia? That's inevitable. It is not a story, right? This is definitely coming here for the Pacific Northwest and Northern California. And it's something we don't want in our lifetime or any of our kids' lifetime, but that's, unfortunately, we can't stop it. So I'm paying close attention to the lack of tremor here recently, and any tremor that we do see is contributing to some further earthquake activity upstream in the locked area. So we're kind of watching that, just seeing how this plays out. A little bit of movement across Yellowstone and the Pacific Northwest, or the up there in the Cascades. A little bit of movement down on the San Andreas Fault, Bolinas. Looks like a little 1.3. Nothing major going on in Southern California. No major elevated movement. Long Valley supervolcano here. Well, that earthquake swarm has technically just died off completely. Not a whole lot of activity stirring up there in the last 24 hours or so. The Big Island of Hawaii, another interesting area because this is, I say it's interesting because of the inflation that's going on here beneath the Kilauea volcano. Now, When you get to a point of inflation, you would expect maybe a potential eruption, right? Well, so far we have yet to see it. This latest inflation activity has surpassed our previous large inflation here back in the second week of November. So how high we are going to peak out will remain to be seen. But if you've been following this channel and my updates, you'll see that we get these periods of inflation here for about 5 days, followed up by about 2 days of deflation, and then further uptick. So something big is brewing. I believe something big is brewing underneath the Hawaii Islands here, the big island of Hawaii, with this type of inflation detail. This is the highest level in the last probably 6 years or so. And that includes all the previous eruptions there at Kilauea Volcano. So that means that things are they're on the uptick. We'll continue to watch that. The volcano is currently not erupting. Seismic activity, well, I don't want that. Seismic activity here. Let's bring up this station right here. It shows minimal activity here in the last 12 hours or so. We did see some what looks like magma movement up here and a little bit in this area as well. But as far as earthquake activity, we're not really seeing a whole lot. Just minimal here in the last, like I said, in the last 12 hours or so. In the last 24 hours, yes, there's been some movement. Watch the southeast rift zone. This is all kind of connecting down here to the Pahala area. Deeper scale activity stirring up below the oceanic crust. Watch this region pretty closely, folks. I think we're looking at some major influx of some big-time magma below the surface. Iceland area, got a divergent boundary out here. Let's go ahead and check out the latest, make sure we got the latest map here, 12 hours. Not a big deal, really, if you really think about it. This has dropped down dramatically. Only 27 measly earthquakes out here in the last 12 hours. That's not a big deal. There's a 2.2. Most of the activity is stirring up north here of the Hagafell area, north of Grindavik, Iceland, into this region near the, let's see here. That's definitely northeast of the power plant up there, a little bit further north of this area. I think we can get this eruption away from this region. That will be good for the folks down here across the Grindavik area and, of course, power plant Blue Lagoon region. But right now, it's a little temporary pause, folks. I think what we're waiting on here is obviously further divergent activity out here, right, to get a possible further increase in influx of magma across the region. Now, what that's going to take, well, it could go either way. If we see the Pacific plate over here shift further to the west, this could open up a little bit further divergent boundary. But this is all like a jigsaw piece of puzzle. So it may not take just entirely the Pacific plate. It may take a little bit of adjustment up here, followed by some further activity in the North American plate, maybe a little bit of shifting going on here across the Australia area. And then that may lock some regions over here to where we see divergent boundary open up here. It's a total jigsaw puzzle, if you ask me, in terms of plate dynamics out here. But they're still definitely thinking that they're going to see an eruption out here. And I'm leaning more towards that activity as well. But we just have to watch this and see how this plays out. There's no guarantee we're going to see an eruption. There's no guarantee that we're going to see this just die away. The latest informational statement here was put out, on the 21st. So later today, later Thanksgiving Day here on the 23rd, we should see an update from these folks here. Hopefully. When things kind of mellow out, they take a little day break or so and then readdress the activity on the second day. So we'll continue to watch that. All right, some big time activity stirring up on the sun. I don't even know what to say about this. Look at these magnetic arches up here. That is quite dynamic. I'm going to save that for a thumbnail. that is incredible to see that many magnetic lines and arches across that magnetic structure across the northeastern limb. So that's not this huge region that we've been monitoring the past couple days. That's a new active region further out there across the sun. So we're going from nothing to an explosion here on the sun of sunspot activity. And we're talking about some super dynamic sunspot regions. There's at least 4 or 5 within this area. There may be more. The main area that I'm kind of watching is this area right here. Getting a lot of close proximity of the magnetic structure. But overall, this is something that I have not seen this solar cycle here, to be honest. So this massive of a sunspot region is, or sunspot complex, is something that I haven't seen this solar cycle. So that's something to say about the current activity. Monitoring some activity on the southeastern limb as well that's showing some dynamic growth. I think we're going to see some X-flare probability grow up here or show up here very soon. Not even joking. We did see a couple filament eruptions here over the last couple days, including one that did blast off kind of an M flare, and an M flare category off of the north. I think it was off the northeastern segment of the sun. Kevin did cover this. He did. It looks like this update was put out this morning, well, today, from a far side sunspot, the very active region here that I showed you all those magnetic lines in. That did blast off a significant filament eruption. Not for sure if this is going to be, well, obviously it looks like it's Earth directed, or Earth away from Earth. There we go. It's early in the morning. No telling what I might blabber out here this early in the morning. I don't know. I might give away some stuff I may regret in the morning. I don't know. Sometimes we give away a lot of cool stuff here just randomly on this channel. A lot of folks know that. But that is a pretty significant eruption on that far side. That just kind of goes to show you here what's going on with the sun. I mean, we're looking at a pretty significant uptick in the energy that's being produced out here across the sun currently. The SFI has raised up to about 190. That's pretty significant. These are the older charts here. This will probably obviously go up, way up, after the month of November gets into that chart. But we're looking at right now 99% chance for C flare, M flare 55, X flare around 10% chance. And I think those are very good measurements in terms of the potential flaring activity. These are some good sunspots out here, folks, and a lot of these are growing dynamically, and stuff like this is where we see some major X flares. All it would take is to be in a bullseye shot for a major X flare and a subsequent large CME. That would definitely stir things up here on Earth. There's quite a few sunspots here mentioned on the visible sunspot region, but I don't know how many we got here. Maybe 10, 8, 9, 10. There's probably a little bit more than that on here. A couple unnamed, but when was the last time you seen something like this out here on the magnetogram? Like I say, I haven't seen it this solar cycle. So keep an eye on these very active regions out here and a couple newer regions, and of course the far side regions out there across the northeastern limb where all this craziness is going on. Look at that. That is some crazy stuff going on way out there. So we'll continue to watch that. No major auroras right now, but I guarantee you we may be in for a show. Who knows? Maybe a super aurora show here in the coming weeks with the potential that exists here across the sun right now. I mean, that's chaotic looking. The sun is coming to life in a big fashion after being quiet for about 2 weeks. Literally the calm before the storm here. All right, let's see what else we got here for the numerical model. Thanksgiving Day today here. Doesn't look like there's any major severe weather. No major snowstorms. No major travel delays. I mean, this looks pretty neutral. If you ask me, for a Thanksgiving holiday out here in the end of November, you know, I'm one of the people that would love to look out my window with everyone gathering around the dinner table and seeing it snowing or maybe windy and stuff like that. But it looks like neutral conditions. So if you're a fair weather type of person, if you're that fair weather type of human, well, you're in luck. So as we head into Friday and into the weekend, we do have a pretty deep trough here developing across Nevada out of the blue. Literally out of the blue. And we do have some snow potential out here, some colder temperatures here for California as well. High pressure dominating way up into the Alaska area. That's going to dip down a little bit further towards the end of the weekend for California. Cold temperatures coming down into the Midwest area and the Great Lakes region. And after that, look at that low pressure out here. That's some cold air coming down here. This is just going to be a very interesting year with all these patterns developing. Look at the West Coast right there. Look at this low pressure develop out of the blue in Southern California. You guys see that? Watch right here. We got massive high pressure around Wednesday, November 29th UTC time. So that's going to be Tuesday. Look at that low pressure just troughing deeply out here across California. That's my magic working out there. I love it. I love it when troughs kick up out here. I'm not going to complain one bit. And that's going to bring, wow, look at that. Look at that deepening trough out here. That's pretty significant. Higher pressure out here across the east. That means warmer than average temperatures. Colder and wetter out here across the West Coast. And I got my fingers crossed. I'm not even joking. I want that. I want it. I'll take that over any Christmas gift. I'm not even joking. The rainfall totals are not that impressive yet. For California and whatnot, but I think they will change. But far as the temperatures and whatnot, they're definitely going to be taking a dip here as we head into the end of November area. I think this might show us a little bit of the anomalies out here across the Great Basin area, and of course into the first week of December. Yeah, goodness. Either way, it's going to be a mixed bag of interesting activity. We're not going to be looking at any boring, massive high pressure out here across the North American continent, so that's good. Let's see what else we have out here, folks. Seismograph stations look pretty calm right now, including the Iceland station. So just a matter of time before we see elevated activity out there. It's just in a phase right now where we're looking at not a whole lot of separation of the oceanic crust out here. Otherwise, we would see incredible magma stirring up out here and further inflation and obviously the eruption, but it's not taken place yet. So watch for potentially after our next major earthquake somewhere. Probably it's got to be at least above a 6 or so. Potentially, what's the divergent boundary out here? It could go either way. It could be amongst the North American plate, the Pacific plate, Eurasia plate, Africa area. It all depends. It doesn't happen just within one movement of the plate. It could take many other sections of the plate to move before we see the further separation out here and further influx of magma. So we will continue to monitor that, folks. I got to go to bed. It's 1:30. 1:30 in the morning. All right. Have a good night, folks. Happy Thanksgiving. And, of course, we'll be back here early this morning, or later this morning, I should say, for some further updates. Take care, folks.